Hello, my builders. Welcome. We have Marcus Dilley. What's up, Marcus?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm excited to have you on and hear your story. And I'm excited for everyone in the builders group to get to know you a little bit better and to learn from you because you've been a guy in the trenches for a long time in terms of eXp, a long time's concerned. We're such a new company. But you've been here a while, in that sense, and you've been plugging away, and I've been loving watching you because you always have a positive attitude, which I think is the number one key to success in this or in anything. So I'm just hoping that everyone that's going to be watching this now live and on the replay, that they can just take a little nugget or two from this time that we spent together this morning and use that to grow their rev share. So let's start with kind of what you were doing before eXp. What did your business look like, and why you joined eXp?
Yeah, so I got in real estate in 2007. I was actually in property management first, and enjoyed that, but I always wanted to get into sales. I was started out probably, 90-10. I was probably doing about 90% property management, 10% real estate. And then that switched pretty quickly, and I was about 50-50. And in the 2010, 2011, it was completely the opposite spectrum. I was doing about 90% real estate and about 10% property management. So I started my own firm in 2011 and really took off in 2012, Carolina's Realty Group. And we were a little boutique firm. We weren't setting the world on fire, but made a lot of great strides and sold a lot of real estate. Had just a great family vibe, people that we just loved each other. We just felt like we belonged together as a company. We supported each other. And I had some great accolades and won some awards and got to speak on panels with famous real estate agents all over the country. And so it's just a really interesting ride for me. Very comfortable, very excited about what was happening and the people that we were getting to work with, and learning about technology and tools and implementing a lot of that and those strategies in our real estate business. But I kind of felt as if I was missing something. I was really, really happy and really comfortable, but I knew I was the ceiling to my agents. I knew that they were my retirement plan, right? And I wanted to give them something different. I wanted to do something different for them. And, I didn't really have whatever it was. I knew it was out there. I knew it had to exist, right? But I didn't really know what it was. So I started this journey of researching and looking at other companies and talking to some of the biggest players around, and went and sat down with several of the name brand companies to find out if maybe we could partner, or God forbid I would walk away from the firm I built, because I knew at the end of the day that that would be the best thing for my team. I love being successful. I love being able to put food on the table and see my kids watch me do well, and give God all the glory for all that. But at the same time, if I'm not helping my agents be successful, what's it all for, right?
Mm-hmm.
End of the day, they're going to go, even the most loyal. We care about each other, but I want them to care more about their family necessarily and their future than loyalty to me per se. So that was kind of how it all came about, right? I just decided to kind of do some research, and I looked at 401ks, and I looked at insurance, and almost got very close to potentially partnering with Keller Williams. That was kind of the model that I really felt the most drawn to, and the one that would give my agent some future hope, right? And then eXp came along. So
That's awesome.
no
So
comparison, right?
that's pretty cool. Yeah. So were you about to make the switch to KW when eXp came into your life?
We were, we didn't have, we weren't sitting at the table with the contract in place per se, but we were pretty close. I mean, I had met with a lot of big players and met with the brokers and owners of a couple different franchises, and really just tried to find out who the best fit was for us. So we were pretty close.
That's cool. So you were doing your due diligence on KW. How did you come to hear about eXp?
So my really good buddy, Rich Tomasini, I've known him a long time. We've always kind of kept in touch. Just love Rich, man. This guy sold, $500 million in real estate and used to drive an old pickup truck, right? I always tell people this about Rich. He's such a high producer and number one, winning awards, blah, 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 but he's not a diva, right? And we love that about him. He's just a real guy. So I always kept in touch with him, and we were talking about, I called him about something that didn't even really have to do with this. We were talking about something, and I asked him, what's going on with your business? He said, well, I'm doing well. I knew the last year was his best year ever, and he'd been at the leaderboard again. And he said, well, I left, the company I was with, which was a surprise to me. I said, why would you do that? It makes no sense, right? And you were comfortable. And he said, well, comfortable sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I invited him over, him and Katie invited him over for dinner, and myself, them, and Matt Rotolo and his wife came over. We all had dinner together, and we talked about everything but eXp until the end of the night. And then he unleashed it on me, and at that point, I knew I was in trouble.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So what was the number one reason for why you came to eXp?
I really think the ability to have the agents, my family, the people that I love, have the same opportunity that I had was the number one reason. If we all can share in growth and success together, to me, that's what makes it substantial.
Mm-hmm.
It means so much to me. It's so important because we were doing really, really well. I mean, I paid more in taxes my first year of owning my own firm than I made the entire first year I was married.
Oh my gosh.
Insane. It was insane. So we were skyrocketing. But if I did it, supporting my family, providing for my kids, and all that's great. And I love that. But without family, without substance, without bringing people along with you, or at least giving them the opportunity, it's up to them, right, what they do with it. But at least giving them the opportunity, to me, makes it substantial. So that, for me, that was really the clincher.
That's awesome. So we have some people watching live right now. If you're watching live, type L in the comments. If you're watching the replay, hit R. Let's see who's hopping on these lives. And if you have questions, put them in the comment section, and we can get to those at the end. So if you have questions for myself or Marcus, that would be awesome. So let's transition into how long you've been with eXp and how many agents you currently have on your, let's call it, in your group.
Yeah, so my official start date was January 1st, but I was in transition from my old firm for several months during that period of time. So I really, technically, I mean, I started doing some lunch and learns, or at least, Rich and Bill helped me get set up for them. They were actually running them, and I was kind of, the face, I guess, of them for a while, but I didn't really start running them on my own until the summertime. But I didn't really get cranking until around April of this year. And in that time, it's been a whirlwind. Right now, we're at a little over 50 in our total organization.
So you joined January 1 technically of this year?
Yes.
Okay. So how many people have you personally enrolled to get those 50? Did you get all 50?
17.
17? Okay, awesome. So 17 turned into 50 in, let's call it, 10 months.
Sure.
Cool. Awesome. So for those of you that might have not heard this before, but typically for every agent that you've sponsored into eXp, you can count on them to be about $1,000 a year in passive income, given that you have all those levels open that those agents are on. So in 10 short months, you've created already, and the year's not even over, a passive income of 50,000 plus for the following year. Not bad for 10 months. And I mean, you must have been, to get 50,000 in passive income, you've probably been hitting this, 30, 40 hours a week, just trying to build your rev share?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a leading question there, brother. Yeah. And, the truth is, I have been, I say this, I'm a little hard on myself, right? I say this a lot. I feel like I've been asleep at the wheel, quite frankly. I mean, yeah, so I've got some great lunch and learns that we're hosting. But, I lead worship at my church, and, I've got 3 kids, and, I've got a life, and, it's been relatively minimal. I mean, I say that because it's true. I think, were I to have done some different things along the way, I'd be in a different place. I don't begrudge where I am, and I'm thankful because, there are people that have done much more in a much shorter time, and those of us that have done a lot less and a lot longer. And everyone's on their own race, right? That's what I keep learning. None of us can sit back and try to compare to other people, which I think is human nature, right? We
Yeah.
all have that challenge. We look at somebody and we go, gosh, if I could only be there, right? Well, somebody's looking at you saying exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're running your own race. And I've had to come to that realization within myself that, I expected to have this, but the truth is I didn't do the work and I didn't have the consistency in order to produce that kind of result. And that was my choice.
Mm-hmm.
Thankful for where I am. It certainly could be less had I done a lot less, but it could be a lot more had I done.
Yeah. So if you had to put a number to it, how many hours a week would you say you've spent on RevShare building over the last 10 months?
Gosh,
If you had to average it all out.
that's a hard question, man. How many hours on RevShare over the last 10 months? Oh, man, I don't know. 30? I mean,
30?
yeah,
No.
making calls?
A week. How many hours a week?
Oh,
On,
a week.
on,
Uh,
on, on reaching out to agents, let's say.
Gosh, maybe 2.
Yeah. See, that's like the point I want to get across because I was thinking you're gonna say like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Um, and what you've built so far is amazing. And I know you beat yourself up a little bit, but I mean, only I heard the stat at EXPCon, and if you're not going to all the events, that all the EXP events that are being put on, you're not even in the game yet.
Yeah,
Nobody's
sure.
doing well with this unless they're going to the events. And I've seen Marcus at several. Only 5% of the entire company has 5 or more personally enrolled agents. You have 17. Less than 1% of our entire company have 10 or more personally enrolled agents.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, you're already in the top 1% of our entire company, probably the top 0.5%, which is really cool. So you're building something really special here. And guys, we're only talking about 2 hours a week. So it's like if you just spent the next few years, because the few years are going to pass anyways, right?
Yeah.
Just 2 to 5 hours, I would say, building your fortune part time, which is what we're doing. Because sell real estate full time, like do that. You're still selling real estate, right, Marcus?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So keep doing that. Build your fortune part time, which is going to be the stock that you get and primarily rev share. Then at some point, if your rev share replaces your income, doubles your income, whatever it is, then you can make that decision for yourself to take a back seat to selling real estate a little bit, take those nights and weekends back and spend it with your family. So I love what you're doing. So 17 and 50. I was at 50, I think about 14 months ago, man. Like that's how fast this thing grows. Like,
Wow.
and I think about 862 this morning when I checked. So
That's insane.
it's insane. And as long as you keep doing what you're doing, maybe increase that 2 hours to 5 hours a week.
Sure.
Dude, you'll be there, man. It's inevitable. You just keep putting in the work, doing what you're doing. Being a good leader to the team that you're building, because that's the key. It's all about duplication. We got to
Right.
help our people do what you've done.
Right.
So so let's say, well, let me ask you this: what has been the best way for you to attract those 17 people? Would you say?
So that's a great question. I think, and I'll do a lead in by saying, I think that the reason that people aren't as successful as they want to be, hey Shelly, is for 2 reasons. I think they either don't do the work, and this is just from my personal experience, right? They either don't do the work or they quit, because I think this is it's not easy, right? But it's possible. So many of us on our team are showing us what is possible. And we happen to be around some real superstars, guys, in this area. I mean, it's unbelievable what some of you guys have accomplished. And so, I think for me, what I've done is I have had, relationships with people. I know that cold calling works, and I have done that as well. And I've been very, very successful. But I also have cultivated relationships with people. And I've had relationships I've already been maintaining, good friends, people in the industry that I've known. And we have, again, worked a little more slowly, building a team of, I mean, we have a 50-year veteran on our team, been in real estate for 50 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
We've got guys that are 30 years in real estate, sold consistently, just in the trenches, just doing, I mean, they're not selling $100 million a year, right? But they're selling, three houses a month consistently for 27 years straight, right? To me, that's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Whatever the numbers are. And these are the kind of, we've got, mid-range agents and ones that have just signed up, brand new agents and everything in between, right? So to me, it speaks to the character and the integrity and the quality of the type of people, like attracts like, and we try to be the type of people that we want to work with. So we have sort of slowly chugged along. We haven't, we've been a lot more like a laser than we have a shotgun. And I think that's caused us to have steady, consistent, slow, small, sustainable growth. For us, it's been plugging away little by little. Again, yeah, God, if I put 10 hours a week, which I could have made, up to now, I'd be in a different place. But I didn't. And this is what I put in. But if I, increase those numbers, it's a duplicable system that the work works. And if
Yeah.
you do the work, you will see the success. If you don't
Yeah.
do the work, you won't see the success.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty simple when you break it down like that. So if you had to go back and tell yourself on January 1 what you need to start doing day one, you kind of alluded to it just now. What have you done differently?
I would have made more calls,
Made more calls.
reached out to more agents. I mean, I've done that, very minimally, for a lot of reasons, but very minimally. So a lot of the building that's happened for our team has come a little bit more organically, because I've called people that I've known, and said, look, this is something you got to see. People that, you call someone that you trust and know, and you say, you got to look at this. I mean, I have a great agent, who worked with Remax for a long time. And this guy is he's old school, right? Love this guy to death, but he's old school, John Somjak. And I told him about this model. And it's the furthest thing. He had no interest in it whatsoever. And I took him out to lunch, I took him and his wife out to lunch and told him about it. And it was a long shot, but I knew that he was at a place where he needed retirement. So again, yeah, I want him on my team and I want to build an organization, but I want him to catch hold of the opportunity that he can have so he can actually have retirement for the first time in 30 years. Because he says it all the time. He's tired, man. He's been selling consistently for 30 years and he's tired. And this opportunity to have something by doing what he's already doing that has significance. And like you said earlier, even if it takes him 5 years to build a 6-figure residual income, right? That 5 years is going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Switch careers.
Well, I mean, what's the average income of a real estate agent in our country?
40K.
Yeah. You've surpassed that residually in 10 months.
Correct.
Like that's incredible. And I would gather to say that most of the people in the builders group are, not most, but at least half are probably making less than that a year, less than 50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at Keller Williams, they have an open books policy for the most part, but they say it's very transparent. But anyways, they show. I was curious, so before I left, and this was before I even knew about eXp, but I wanted to see what people were earning in my office, like what were the gross commission incomes for all the agents in our office. So I had put out a report for me. I looked at it. We had some 250 agents at that office, whatever it was. And I wanted to look at the agents that were individuals and how much gross commission income they were producing. And the reason I did this, I remember now, was because I wanted to show my team members, hey, this is a really unique opportunity you have being on a team, because you can make this with me versus this without me, was kind of the idea, to get more buy-in to my real estate sales. And there was less than 10 people, I think it was 8 or 9 people, let's just call it 10 individual agents that were not on teams out of that entire office that had a gross commission income of over 70,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
At Keller Williams, it's a 64-36 split. So,
yikes.
I mean, take off of 20 grand and the cap 25. So take off 20 grand, you're down to 50. Now we're not even talking about, lead gen that they probably spent to do that. We're not talking about photography, measurements, paying
training, coaching,
training, whatever they're spending money on, MLS dues. So I
Yeah.
mean, knock that down to say at least 40,000 a year,
Right.
and that's the cream of the crop, and off 2 hours a week, you were able to produce that kind of income for yourself moving forward indefinitely. I believe as long as real estate agents exist. If some point in the future robots are walking around showing houses,
Not
50 years
likely.
from now,
Not likely.
maybe that passive income will stop, but I don't see that happening. Like it's just amazing, and that's like my biggest passion. Like some people in this company are going to produce untold amount of wealth. I think you're going to be one of those people, Marcus, and that's amazing. And I want that for everyone watching this right now. But if we can just help, say, 5,000 people in our group over the next 10 years
Hmm.
produce passive income of $50 to $100,000 a year,
Which is very realistic, right?
totally realistic.
Yeah. Very
And then
conservative.
if you can make 50 from rev share, 50
Right.
from selling houses, you're 100
Right.
grand a year.
Right.
And if something happened, God forbid, and you can't work for a year because an illness or an injury, whatever it might be, you still got that money. You still keep your lights on.
Mm.
So it's just like, if you guys aren't pursuing this at least 2 to 5 hours a week right now, you got to get with your upline. You got to get with someone at eXp and partner with them and have them hold you accountable and start running with it. If you're watching this and maybe your sponsor isn't very active at building the rev share, but this is something that you really want for you, then go to the next person up. And if that's not the person that can help you, go to the next person up, because there's leaders in our company that want to help you, and we have systems and processes of the best way to approach this that you can follow. So make sure you're plugging in. So Marcus, so you said you had some success cold calling. What was your approach with that? Like, let's go over your approach of what you would say to somebody that you previously didn't have a relationship with. Would you just call them out of the blue and hit them with EXP, or what does that look like?
Yeah, sure. That's great. Great question. So, and I want to say this too, really quick. I think, we have to realize as a team that we have I think, the best team in the country. The
Yeah.
support that we have, the super rock star people that we have, Craig and Shelly, Bill, Rich, there's so many people that are there. All the resources that we could possibly need are there if we will utilize them.
Mm-hmm.
Things we're not on an island. We do not only do we have the support, but we have the resources, the material, right? With the builders groups and the impact groups, all that stuff is there for these agents to take hold of if they're willing to do it. So I just think that's important, because I think we miss that a lot of times. We get caught up in our own journey and we forget that the support is there, so we don't reach out or we don't utilize it. But if you dig in and use that stuff, you will be successful.
Yeah, and that's a great point, man. Like, I get it all the time. People are like, "Oh, AJ, you have this many people because you got in early," and I'm like, maybe, but I don't think so. Like, Keely's gonna hit 500 faster than I did.
Yeah.
Bill just hit it faster than I did. Rich is gonna hit it faster than I did. You still have the opportunity to maybe hit it faster than I did. So like, it's actually easier now, because when I joined, this is what my main mentor told me. He's like, AJ, the worst case scenario is this whole thing doesn't work out and you're back to selling houses. And
Which
I'm
we're
like,
doing anyway, right?
yeah. I was like, okay, let's do it. Like, this is a proven model now, and we have leadership to help you accomplish this. When I joined, Brent Gove, the big success story, crushing it, over 3,000 people in his rev share group. He joined 3 months before I did. He didn't know what was going on. We had
Right,
no
right.
tools. We didn't know what to say. We didn't have a webinar. We didn't have lunch and learns. We didn't have the builders group. So that's a great point that you brought up, man. So what do you say to someone that you don't
Yeah.
know?
Cold
How do
call.
you?
So yeah, it's a great question. So I think so a lot of, because I've been around here. I've lived in Charlotte 35 years, and I've had I've been around in real estate since '07. A lot of people, even if I don't know them directly, we've kind of heard of each other. So a lot of times I'll call and I just, I'm just friendly. I'll kind of shoot the breeze for a moment, not take a long time, but just kind of have some niceties up front, and then just ask them, cut right to the chase, and ask them if they've heard of eXp. At this point, a lot of people have heard of eXp, but there's still some that haven't, if you can believe that, in our area,
Yeah.
that maybe have heard about it, but they don't really know what it is or whatever. So depending on what they say, if they've heard of eXp, a lot of times I'll ask them, have you seen it? Have you seen what it is? And most of them that say they're not interested haven't really seen it. They don't really know what it is. Or they'll say, yes, someone sat me down at a Starbucks and told me about it, which how in the world are you going to do that? Right. I mean, it's such a visual presentation. So unfortunately, a lot of people have been poorly introduced or poorly explained. And so I kind of go into that. I talk about the lunch and learns. I talk about the Zoom calls. I talk about, getting them onto a webinar. And sometimes I'll just ask them if the webinar makes the most sense. They don't want to be seen in public at the lunch and learns or whatever the case is, or maybe the Zoom call they can't make because we only have specific times. I'll invite them. I'll say, well, when I get them to the point where they're interested, I ask them a lot of times if they've seen it and why it is that if they're not interested, they are not willing to take a look at something that could change their lives. I've said things to people like this before. Have you ever had an experience in your life where you had an opportunity and you decided not to take it, and then later on in life you regretted it? And most people say, well, yeah, that's happened to me. How about a situation in life where you had an opportunity, you almost didn't take it, and then you decided to take it at the last minute and you're really glad you did it? It changed your life or changed your business or changed your health or whatever it is. Most people say, yeah, that's happened to me too, right? Everybody can relate to those things, right? Well, what if this is the situation? It's classic. You heard it. Know what you're saying no to. Smart and successful people look at opportunities. We've heard all this stuff a million times. And also, I think there are people that are ready for the opportunity and people that are not. But whatever it is that it takes to get them to see it, whether it's the lunch and learn, whether it's the Zoom call, whether it's the webinar, let's say it's the webinar, I'll a lot of times just ask them, I'll give them options, Thursday at 5 or, Wednesday at 2 or whatever it is. And then I'll wait to give them the address, the URL, until I get them on the phone. Then I'll give them the URL, because if I just give them the URL, a lot of times they won't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Physically be there. And the reason for that is because I like to answer questions that they have during or after the webinar. It's short, 20, 30 minutes or whatever it is. I use that. It's the new RE webinar. But there's so many options for us to be able to get people to actually look at what it is, that it's a lot easier than it used to be.
Yeah. So I love what you said. So you built low rapport, kept it brief, went straight into eXp, and you asked questions. So you got them thinking a question that you kind of knew what the answer was going to be. So I love that you led them in the right direction, and all you're doing is you're helping open their eyes to look at an opportunity, which is amazing. And then you didn't try to explain eXp to them on that initial phone call, did you?
No way. And a lot of times if they'll ask me, they'll say, well, tell me about what it is. And I'll just say, look, it's a visual presentation, right? It's the stuff we've heard over and over again. It's just not, I can't do it justice. So, give me a few minutes. When's the best time? I mean, it's sales 101, right? You're just asking them, and this is something, again, this is not for you. I mean, it is for you in a sense, but it's really what I'm passionate about is help. And I know you are as well. Remembering that this is an opportunity that can change these people's lives. How, if you had the key to freedom from a prison that someone didn't even know they were in, what kind of person would you be if you didn't at least tell them about it?
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. And then the second thing that you did is when you booked that next appointment to actually show them the opportunity, you didn't explain it yourself. You used a third-party tool, which was the webinar at itsthenewre.com.
That's right.
Which is huge, guys. If you're trying to explain this to people on the phone, well, that's horrible. If you're even trying to explain it in person using the PowerPoint on your computer, again, that's not good. There's a saying is that you can't be a prophet in your own backyard. So you want to bring in an expert. And I was just reading this. I'm always studying business and network marketing and all that. And they said, this was so good. I need to find it and do a video on this. They said that so you just joined eXp. Let's just say you're here for 6 months, whatever. The person that you're showing eXp to shouldn't, and they won't take your opinion on it because you're too new. You don't have the success. So you need to use a third-party tool to explain the model to them. And I just thought it was good how they shouldn't listen to you. So if you're showing this to people yourself, it's just interesting to think how that person shouldn't listen to you because you're not the expert yet.
Right.
And they don't listen to you. People who fail at this are the ones that are trying to show it themselves initially. Once you become an expert at it, and watch it's newre.com or go to Lunch and Learn like 100 times, then yeah, you can present it yourself. But I still don't think you should, because this is what happens. So say I'm showing Marcus for the first time and I'm presenting it and he's like, man, this all sounds good. This sounds good. This sounds good. Then he thinks, wow, he's really good at presenting it. I don't want to present it, number one, or I wouldn't be as good as him presenting it. Well, of course you're not going to be as good initially because this is your first time seeing it, but these are the thoughts that goes through your prospect's mind. They're always going to think, however you present it to them, they're going to think, can I do what he's doing or what she's doing? And everyone can hit play on itsthenewre.com. That's why it's so important, is for duplication for your team. Your team has to duplicate what you're doing. If it doesn't duplicate, you shouldn't be doing it. So one last question, and then a parting piece of advice that you can give to everybody of what you think they could be doing or should be doing, or maybe just positive encouragement. So the question is, 17 personally enrolled, how many people would you say that you've either called, contacted, text messaged, and said and introduced eXp? They didn't have to watch the webinar, but just said, hey, would you take a look at this? How many people total would you say?
This is going to be embarrassing, dude. Man, I don't know, 50 maybe.
Yeah. So whatever you said, there's gonna be a great lesson in it. So the lesson there is the conversion rate's amazing. I mean, that's almost a 30% conversion rate.
Yeah.
So that's really good. I used to have to call about 100 expired listings, not call, speak to 100 expired listings a week to take a listing. So these
50 in 10 months is pretty sad, AJ.
And I'm right there with
that
you.
In 1 month, right? I mean, the opportunity, that's my hindsight 2020 moment.
So everyone in our group that's really crushing it has a very similar conversion rate, myself included, which means that even Rich and Bill and Craig and Shelly are close to hitting their 40 personally enrolled. That means that they've probably shared it with right around 100 or less.
That's crazy.
I mean, we're only talking about 10 a month, guys. Like, so it's just crazy. The numbers just add up really fast. You just got to take some action. Like, just go sell real estate, but take a little bit of action.
Right.
So parting piece of advice.
Parting piece of advice would be, I think, when you are looking at this opportunity, I think it's important to look at it as a business and see it as a business. But I also think it's important to remember that you are dealing with people who may feel like you're trying to make money off of them. So I think the most important thing you can do is add value to the individual first when you're developing a relationship with them, other than cold calling and getting someone to a lunch and learn. Because there's a scale, or there's a scope rather, of the types of people that you'll introduce this to. There are good, warm friends. There are people that you're going to cold call, and then there are those that you're going to nurture, right? Because sometimes you'll call someone, you'll explain this to them, and they'll get it right away. Other times it'll take a little bit longer, and everyone's on a different part of that pendulum, right? So I think it's important for us to realize that we are adding value to their lives. And whether they see it or not, our consistency and our passion is our love for them and wanting them to see what we've seen. And that some people are not going to get it, and that's okay. You still are doing the right thing by sharing this with others and being consistent and being persistent in a friendly, loving way, right? That doesn't come across as we're trying to beat people over the head. Someone's not ready for it, they're not ready for it. But what's interesting is I've seen a lot of people come back. Like, I have people on my first line now that I just kind of left alone, and after they dug into it a little more, they said, they called me back and said, hey, I need to come look at this.
Yeah, that's key. That's key there too. I mean, follow up is the name of the game. You make your money in this, or selling real estate in the follow up.
Yep.
And through that, don't try to convince, just add value, build a great relationship, be a great person. Don't make them feel bad if they don't make the switch right away, but stay in touch consistently.
That's right.
Have some kind of lead follow-up system. Stay in touch. Shoot them a text that you're thinking of them. Shoot them a text, something, hey, did you see eXp was just featured in Times Square, NASDAQ? So you can both reach out for personal stuff and business stuff. So
when you're dripping on them, I think that's important too, because there's going to come a point where the pain of where they are is greater than the pain of changing.
Yeah.
Right. And so, or the pain of changing is greater than the pain of where they are. Whatever it is, there's going to be a intersection somewhere where they're going to need to look at something else. And because you've been passionately connected to them, because you've been trying to add value to their life, because you've been the one that's been persistent, in a loving way, they're going to come to you first.
Yeah, 100%. Love it, man. Well, this is good stuff here. Thanks for dropping all your wisdom.
I don't know. Thanks for having me, man.
And all your encouragement. So what I'd like everybody to do is tag in the comments people that you brought into the company. So this is, of course, for our group only. So make sure that if you have people that are not in the builders group that you've sponsored, put them in the builders group, tag them in this video. The number one thing that you can do to be a good leader for your team is to not only promote any types of interview type things that we're doing like this, but to also promote the events, get them plugged in, because the more you get them plugged in, the more they're going to succeed, the more belief that's going to create. And once they have more belief in this, it's going to create more confidence, and more confidence is what's going to allow them to actually go out and make those phone calls. So you guys have a great week. Make it happen, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, AJ. Bye, guys.
See you, buddy.